morning, Year 7. I hope you are all well. So this is your solutions video for the fourth week of learning from home. So make sure it says 6.2.4 in the corner and you are ready to mark your answers. Okay, so first one is just adding fractions. So luckily our denominator, the bottom number, is exactly the same. So all we've got to do is the sum on the bottom. So we've got 4 over 6 plus 1 over 6. 4 plus 1 is 5. So the answer is 5 over 6. Second one, we've got a subtraction here, but again our denominator is the same. So we've got 5 over 9 minus 3 over 9. Now, if the denominator is the same, we can just do the sum on the top. So 5 minus 3 equals 2 over 9, and there's your answer. Okay, for number 3, we're dividing by 10. Now, when we divide by 10, we just take it back 1 decimal place, okay? So in this case, we would take it back from 500 to 50, or we would take away that 0, okay? So the answer to this one is 50. Now the next one says 9,000 divided by 1,000. Now when we divide something by something else, we're saying how many of this number goes into this number. So how many thousands go into 9,000? Now you can all do that. You can all tell me that there are 9 thousands in 9,000. But also we can count the zeros. So we know that there's 1, 2, 3 zeros in 1,000. So therefore I need to go back 3 in 9,000. So that's how I'm left with number 9. Next one then, so it says 33.9 meters as centimeters, okay? So now I've told you this, we've got how many centimeters are there in a meter? So there are 100 centimeters in a meter. So if you know that now, then you can work out how many centimeters there are in 33.9 meters. Because if I know that there are 100 centimeters in a meter and I'm currently in meters, all I need to do is times it by 100. So if I've got 33.9, when I times by 100, I've just got to move it forward because I've got 2 zeros. I've got to move it forward once. That would make it 339. But then I've got to move it forward again and add my 0. So I know that the answer would be 3,390 centimeters. Now it says complete 700 centimeters, how many meters? Okay, so this time I know again that 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. So if I know that that's the case, but this time I'm going the other way, I'm going from centimeters to meters. So this time I've got to divide 700 by 100. So if I take it back 1, I get 70. If I take it back 2, I get 7. So the answer here is 7 meters, okay? So that's perfect. Next one, it says write in figures 9 tens, 2 tenths, and 9 thousandths, okay? So let's start with our 9, because we know that that goes in the 10 column. So it says 9 tens, okay? So that would be the tens. Then, what comes after tens? That would be our units, but I don't have any of those, do I? Okay, so I'm going to have to put a 0 there, aren't I? Because that makes it 90. Now it says I've got 2 tenths, okay? So I'm going to put my 2 tenths there, but what comes after tenths? It would be hundredths, but I don't have any of those, so I'm going to have to put 0. And then how many thousandths do I have? I've got 9, okay? So that one comes next. So that was a bit more of a difficult one than previous ones, but we must remember that if it kind of goes from 10 straight to tenths, we know there's something in the middle. We know there should be units, so we still need to make sure we put a 0 in where that features. Now the next one says 22,000, 3 tens, and 5 units. Okay, so we'll write our 22, because we know that that's the first one. We've got 22,000. Now, after thousands comes 100, but we don't have any hundreds mentioned, so we're going to make sure we put our 0 there. After hundreds comes tens, okay, we've got 3 of those, so we can put those in, and then we've got 5 units, okay, so we can pop that one in there. So our answer should be 22,035. Okay, on to a little bit of algebra then. We've done these in class. So we've got find the missing number. So something plus 2 equals 6. Now I know you can probably do this fairly easily, but remember our system, we take the answer and then we do the opposite of what we've got here. So we do 6 minus 2 equals 4. And we know that 4 is the answer because when we put 4 where the question mark is, we do 4 plus 2 and that equals 6. So we know that we're correct. Next one says 132 equals something times 11. So we need to know what times 11 equals 132. Okay, so just like before, we're going to take our answer and we're going to do the opposite of the operation there. So we've got 132 and we're going to divide it by 11. And if we do that sum, we know that we would get 12. So then we can put that back in our thing. We can say 12 times 11, does that equal 132? Yes, it does. So then we know that we've got our answer correct. Okay, so next one is just some subtraction. So we're going to write it out nice and simple. So we've got 1, 6, 4, 8, 3 minus 2, 6, 2, 1. Now make sure they're lined up properly, okay? So 1 from 3 is 2. 2 from 8 is 6. 6 from 4. Oh dear, we can't do that one. So we're going to borrow from the 6. We'll make that into a 5. We'll borrow the 10 from there, making that 14. So now we know 6 from 14 is 8. 2 from 5 is 3. Imagine there's a 0 there. From 1 is 1. So we should have 13,862 as our answer. Okay, so we've got one more of these to do here. So we've got 12,277 minus 7,576. Okay, so again, make sure we've lined them up correctly. We should have a blank under the first one. So 6 from 7, well that's a 1. 7 from 7 is 0. 5 from 2, oh dear, I can't do that one. So I'll borrow I'll make that into a 1 and add my 1 here. 5 from 12, that's 7. 7 from 1, oh, can't do that, so that now becomes 0. Make that 11, and that means 7 from 11 is 4. So my answer to this one should be 4,701. Okay, so moving on to the next one. It says complete the equivalent fraction. Okay, now remember equivalent just means same. Okay, so we want the fraction that's exactly the same. So we've got to figure out what did they do on the bottom, and then I'm going to do it on the top as well. So to get from 8 to 40, they've timesed by 5. Because 5 times 8 is 40. And so now I know that to get from 8 to 40, they times by 5. I'm going to do the same for the top. So I'm going to times 5 by 5, which gives me 25. So that just means that 5 over 8 is exactly the same as 25 over 40. Okay? Next one then. So here, this one's a little bit easier, isn't it? How did we get from 2 to 4? Well, they times it by 2, because 2 times 2 is 4. And then so I've got to do the same to the bottom. So 5 times 2 is 10. So now I know that the equivalent, the same fraction of 2 over 5, is 4 over 10. Okay, so on to some kind of bigger or smaller numbers. So we're going to do just like we did last time. So we'll put one number on this side, so we've got minus 4, and the other number on this side. Now remember, the open end is signifying the bigger number, yeah? So just like the crocodile eats the bigger number. So we want the number, if they're minus numbers, we want the number that is closest to 0. So based on our number line, what is closer to 0? Minus 4 or minus 5? Well, it's minus 4 in this case. So our crocodile should be facing and eating the minus 4. Okay, so this time we've got minus 8 and we've got minus 6. Now again, with negative numbers, we want to know which of these is closer to 0. The number that's closer to 0 is the one that is bigger. So in this case, minus 6 is actually closer to 0 than minus 8, so therefore it is bigger, and the crocodile faces that way. Okay? So we've just about run out of time on this video, but if you watch video number 2, you will find out the answers to the last 4 questions.